Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Postgame podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Del Mendo, and hopefully later, Ryan Herrera from beautiful, historic Wrigley Field with some postgame reaction from the clubhouse and from David Ross. Cubs win 4-2 over the Giants. Cody, we weren't sure this was going to be a good start to the weekend. We were fearing this was going to be an ugly start to the weekend. Turns out they pulled it off.
Yeah, I was able to watch the first 5.5 innings at the office, and then did CHGO Bets Daily with Sean Anderson. And then as soon as that was over, I came back and saw that Nico hit a homer and Drew Smyly was still shoving. So, I was feeling good coming home. And then I got to I think I got to the corner of Halstead and Fullerton, pulled out my phone while I was waiting at the stoplight, saw the Giants had the bases jacked in the 8th, and I was like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. And then, I got here for the start of the 9th inning, and Brandon Hughes came in and shoved it, man. So, hey. I don't really know. Like the chat's kind of like David Snyder's complaining about David Ross's death taxes, and that guy always complain about David Ross. But I mean, they won today. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they should have taken Drew Smyly out or not. Another guy says here is 100 pitches. So I mean, that in today's era it makes sense if you're taking him out and he's got 100 pitches. So I'm not sure, but I'm happy to see that we did not blow it today, Luke, like we did yesterday.
Yeah, and again, if this is about evaluation, you don't know it's going to turn out this way, but I do love seeing, obviously it was disheartening to see Manny Rodriguez come in and give 2 walks and then a 2-run double. That was not good, but the flip side of that is Brandon Hughes once again stepped up and showed you good stuff and not only got you out of the 8th, he got you through the 9th. And so, more and more he's looking like a bullpen piece. A guy that was an outfielder looks like he's a bullpen piece moving forward for next year. You never can really tell with bullpen guys because I feel like they're so hit or miss. It's maybe the hardest thing to figure out, but it appears the Cubs figured it out, 4-2.
Yeah, I
mean, nice job by Hughes. And, Smyly, the deal with him is we got the good Drew Smyly. I think we were wondering before the game, I don't know, it was David that was asking that. He was like, which Drew Smyly we're going to get? We spend a lot of the pregame show and we'll spend more of the postgame show talking about, Rodon. How is he a piece they can add in the offseason? Is he someone they should think about? Well, Drew Smyly's kind of in that same conversation. Like he would be, I would assume, a much cheaper version. And if you can get a few of these performances mixed in with something slightly not as good, he's a lefty as well, and he was really one hit. He gave up one hit in the game, so he was fantastic in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the story of him this entire second half. I know his last start, it was bad against St. Louis, one of the best offenses the second half has seen. I'd like to credit their easy ass schedule, but that's another story and another thing I can complain about. But coming off that, you're hoping that maybe he'd at least be able to give you average Drew Smyly, which is what we saw a lot in the first half of the season. But instead, he came out here and shoved it like he's been shoving it in the entire second half of the season. Ryan tweeted earlier, I think I retweeted from the CHGO Cubs Twitter account. If you don't follow it, you should follow it. He tweeted that Drew Smyly walking off the mound, and every team in the league has to be wondering why they didn't trade for him at the deadline. And I mean, even if the Cubs would have traded him and then he would have been great like this, and that the Cubs wouldn't have got anything great for him because he was injured in that first half, then we'd be sitting here pissed off that we traded Drew Smyly. So or maybe not pissed off, but I
don't think so.
Maybe a little bit more frustrated that we didn't get anything great for him, because even if he was pitching this in the first half, oh my God, the Cubs would have got something great for him. They would have got. I don't know if they would have got what they Wesneski like they did for Efros, considering the years of control. But I think they would have got something just something useful, something. it would have been better than what we got for Chris Martin, and that's nothing against Zach McKinstry, but I'm just saying we would have got something.
Oh, I agree, especially because he's a left-hander.
Right. And he's got postseason experience.
Mm-hmm.
He just won a ring with the Braves last year, right? Like there's a lot of things to like about Drew Smyly. Like we kind of like, I feel like all season we've kind of taken him for granted, like in a way. Like I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but anyway, all I'm saying is that the guys pitched well enough to where you're going in next year. They have a mutual option type thing going on the contract. So like to me, it's like, why wouldn't you bring this guy back? I mean, I guess he could, opt out or whatever you want to call it, however the technical term for his situation is, and, try and get more money. But, I mean, even if it's not like he's going to be demanding for, $15 million a year, like at most. I don't know how much he's making this year, but it can't be more than just a few million. Like this guy hasn't been shoving it down people's throats. All I'm saying is like he seems like a really decent pitcher to have around for as a young, like a veteran, one, and two is a really good depth piece. I don't know what the rotation looks like for next year, but he definitely is someone that like you can look at and think, the very least, you got an injury go down, you got a guy like him who can come in and give you some innings, and you can feel confident with that guy to help you get a win that day. So
yeah,
I think that's the good thing about Drew Smyly, and it just it sucks that he's doing this and this team stinks. He went out there and did it against a Giants team that I know they've been a disappointment this year, but that it's not like he went and did it against the Reds or the Pirates. I know everyone likes to sit in the chat, and whenever someone does good and it's against the Reds or the Pirates, they like to, not really take that as much as success. But the Giants are in the NL West, and they play against some of the best teams in the league, like all the time. Like they just won 100-some games last year. The fact that he went out there and did that against them, I mean, a team of that caliber, at least in some way, like to me, it's impressive. It's something that I don't take for granted for someone like him. And, we're going to see what the Cubs are going to want to do with him in the offseason. But right now, he looks like a guy to me that I want to have around to help groom some of these young guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked, in the pregame show, and it's worth repeating now that it looks like the starting pitching market will be low supply, heavy demand in the offseason, right? So obviously we've talked about what they might have to give up to try and get Shohei, which would obviously be option number one if somehow you can land Shohei without totally depleting your farm system and add number one. You look at Rodon, and Rodon was great again, 11 strikeouts. He's done it 10 or more in 4 of his last 5 starts. He leads the majors in strikeouts per 9 innings. We've talked about his injury problems, but he hasn't had those the last 2 years. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball the last 2 years. He'd be a more expensive, longer deal contract than certainly Smyly would be. So you start thinking about what kind of cash is he going to get if and when he opts out. He's a Boris guy, I believe. So like he's going to get top dollar. You're going to have to overpay to get Rodon. I'm not saying Rodon's not a great move. I think he would be a really good addition for the Cubs if you can do a shorter term deal. I don't really care how big the money gets. It's about not having that strapped to you for like 6 years. Now, Rodon will be 30 next season. Jacob deGrom's another name that comes up. He's going to be 35 next season. So,
yeah,
Jacob
deGrom does age
larger sample size of success, but they both have injury problems. And,
right.
Smyly spent a lot of this year hurt too. So if you're looking at those 3 guys as kind of names to help the rotation next year, Smyly, probably the most affordable, certainly, of the 3, and could be just a backup plan if you're not able to get Ohtani, if you're not able to sign Rodon. Maybe he stays with the Giants. I don't know. Or somebody spends a ton of money on him, and maybe deGrom is the same way. So you might have to settle for Drew Smyly, but that's not a horrible backup plan. Now, I would love to sign one of those guys and then still have Smyly. That's what I see ideal. Like,
yeah,
if you can have Smyly and Sampson as your depth guys, along with some of the young guys coming up, like Killian and Wisniewski and those guys, now you've got depth.
Is it bad? Is it recency bias of me to say that I'd rather have Smyly as my number 5 than Kyle Hendricks?
Well, I do like the idea of having a second left-hander. I don't want to forget what Kyle Hendricks has done for the Cubs.
Right.
And don't forget, like we're saying, well, he can't depend on Kyle Hendricks. Well, I mean, Smyly was hurt a lot this year too.
He's out for what, like
and
a
Kyle
month and a half or
some
two.
great starts too, as well. Like,
yeah,
Smyly has done well recently since coming back. But Kyle Hendricks has been there, done that for you in the postseason. Like, you want to talk about postseason experience. Well, let's not forget Game 7 and some other games for Kyle Hendricks. So,
yeah,
you're
right.
You can count on Hendricks to be a huge part of it. Just like I don't think you can count on Smyly to be a huge part of it. Like, if you're counting on those guys to be your 2 or 3 next year, and you're counting on them to make, throw 200 innings, you're fooling yourself. But that doesn't mean they can't be nice pieces for you moving forward next season. Would I rather have Rodon than Smyly? Yes, of course I would. But I don't want him for like 6 years. I want him for like 4.
Yeah.
And if it gets expensive, that's okay, because it's not my cash.
Yeah. Jack R's yelling at me because I uttered the thought of having Drew Smyly over Kyle Hendricks. Well, Drew Smyly also can stay on the field.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a choice anyway. I feel like
I'm not even like
Hendricks is going to be there. It's not like his
I know
trade
he's
value
going to be there. Yeah, he's gonna be there. I know that.
Yeah.
I just like what have we seen from Kyle Hendricks the last 2 years? Like, it's not any better or worse than Drew Smyly. All it is all I can say is that Kyle Hendricks has postseason experience. He's gone out there, won big games, but that's all. It's also been years since he's done that. I mean, all I know is that we say it all the time, Luke. The best ability is availability. And you know what? Kyle Hendricks hasn't been doing that this year, and he was really inconsistent last year. And this is, again, I love Kyle Hendricks. I think he is a quote-unquote Cubs legend or Cubs lifer. He should be on this team forever, in my opinion. If you can figure out to do that and not have to pay him more than what you're already paying him, like, fine. Like, I don't mind him being on this team, but, like, I don't know, like, Drew Smyly just won the World Series of the Braves last year, pitched really well for them, and then comes to our team, and he got hurt and was out for like a month and has been way better than what we expect. When we signed him, no one thought he was going to be shit. No one was excited about it, and now he's out in this entire second half. He's been great. I don't care if this team is bad. Like, to me, it's like, it's what the league always goes by. It's like, what have you done for me lately? Kyle Hendricks hasn't done anything for us lately. Drew Smyly has, and so like that's how I feel about it. I just think, would I take Kyle Hendricks in a postseason game over Drew Smyly? Hell yeah, I would. He did so much more for the Cubs in the postseason than Drew Smyly has. Of course, I would take him in the postseason game in a must-win game. Of course, I would. But in terms of, are you going to give me 30 starts out of the 5-hole in the starting rotation? I feel better about Drew Smyly being able to do that than Kyle Hendricks. And like, I'm very intrigued. Like, it's not something we've really talked about lately, but I'm really intrigued to see what the Cubs plan to do with Kyle Hendricks in his role. I assume he's going to be in the rotation. Ryan, looked at me like I was a moron when I questioned it like a month ago. Like,
Sutcliffe even kind of like hesitated on the broadcast about it today. Like, he's like, he questioned whether or not Keegan is going back to the bullpen. He said he's obviously a lock to be on the team. Steele is a lock. You put him in Sharpie. And he said, you know what, Kyle Hendricks, you just don't know which guy you're getting. To me, the best question is Rodon or DeGrom in the offseason. Who would you rather target of those two guys? And Jack R saying DeGrom, he'd be all in. Jack says he thinks Rodon is more of a Stroman level, not an ace. Now, I would have agreed with that before this season. This season, Rodon has absolutely been an ace. Like, he's been one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball the last couple of years. I mean, he's second in FIP. He's averaging like over 11 strikeouts a game. He's been that good, and he's left-handed. So, I think he's a step above Stroman right now, but I wouldn't mind having both of them on the team. Now, whether or not you think DeGrom at 35 years old next year still has enough in the tank and can get through the injuries that his stuff is that much better. I don't know. I'd be happy with either one of those guys. I know the name DeGrom puts more fear. Most fans would think like DeGrom, oh, we got DeGrom would be like the thing to say to another team. Like we got DeGrom and Stroman and Steele. It does sound like it's got a little more meat behind it.
Yeah.
But when you look at what they've done the last couple of years, I mean, DeGrom has made 22 starts in the last 2 seasons, and Rodon has been there and has been dominating at the major league level. So
right.
I don't know. It's like fantasy football. You don't want to get too attached to that name. That
DeGrom's like Christian McCaffrey this year, right? Like McCaffrey. You
don't want to get too attached to it.
Yeah, he's like the best running back in the league if he's healthy, but can he stay healthy? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of talked about on pregame, right? Like, I think that I think I'm willing to be okay if the Cubs pay whatever 25 to 30 AAV for Carlos Rodon if you can get him on a Stroman-like deal. Like, I'm willing to pay the money per
100%.
year.
I think it'll be more expensive than that, maybe, but
I don't know. I mean, he's making like 21, 22 this year. Like, I don't know. I just don't think teams are going to pay him over $30 million a year, considering the injury history and considering it's not like he's been doing it for years and years and years. It's literally only been 2 years, and this is the second year, honestly.
Right.
I mean, 2016 or 2017, he had a really good year with the White Sox too, but then the injuries came. So, like, as far as consistent production, it's really only been 2 years, and even last year he had issues at the end of the year. This is really like his first real like good season of consistent production, of looking like a top end number one starter like pitcher. And I don't think teams are going to forget that. And, the team that gets him will overpay. So maybe you're right. Maybe he will get 30 million, but I don't know if that deal will look good in hindsight.
The only reason the Sox let him get away and they non-tendered him, what a dud move that was. I know Cueto's been good for him, and maybe Cueto's one that escaped the Cubs that they could have had for, basically nothing. But if I'm being honest and I'm saying, whose health do I feel most comfortable in dumping some money into the next 3 years? Out of those guys, you're talking about DeGrom, you're talking about Rodon, you're talking about Smyly. The guy on that list has to be Rodon. He's that much. I mean, he's 5 years younger than DeGrom. Like, they've all had injury problems, but Rodon really hasn't the last 2, and he's the youngest of the group. So if I had to put money on who's going to be healthier the next few years, and I know that's not a points bet wager you can make, I would think it's probably Rodon, who's also been the best pitcher out of those the last 2 or 3 years. So
yeah,
I still think he's a guy they should go after.
Yeah, I'm not saying the Cubs shouldn't go after him. I just, when we talk about where we see the Cubs being, World Series ready to win,
right,
or even just playoff bound, like, one bad free agent signing really can like set your franchise back. And I think Jason Hayward is like the best example of that. Like, everyone wants to talk about how the Cubs didn't spend at the end of 18 going into 19 after Theo said the offense broke, and how they didn't do anything in 19 either. And then even going into 2020 before the pandemic came, like, well, not that I think it's okay, but the Cubs having to pay Jason Hayward $20+ million a year.
Yes.
And him not give us that kind of production of that value of money. Like,
and he was young.
Right. And like that's mainly on Tom Ricketts. Like, I'm not saying that it shouldn't matter. To me, it shouldn't matter. Like, that they didn't spend. They should have spent, because they are the Cubs and they're bringing in millions and millions of dollars a year, blah, 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 or charging all this money, $12 beers, blah. Like, believe me, to me, it's not an excuse. But the Cubs, as in ownership, they don't care. They don't care what we think. They're gonna spend the money however they want. And so to me, it's like, one bad free agent signing, and then I'll be afraid that Tom isn't going to open up the checkbook again. And so it's not just like they have to. The front office has to talk Tom into thinking like, hey, if we spend this kind of money, we can be a competitor next year or be a playoff team or something like that. And then maybe then they'll open up the pocketbook more like they did going into the 2016 season after that. And I think, we've talked about this coming off season, like, they need a number one. They need a veteran arm in that rotation that can help, solidify and help some of these young guys and stuff like that. And, maybe Rodon can be that guy. And I'd rather have DeGrom. I think we'd all rather have DeGrom, and he will cost more. And, he is 35, so he knows he isn't getting some gigantic contract, but I think he'd be looking for that Scherzer type contract, man. Like 2 years, $40 million AAV per year, like type deal. I mean, when the guy's pitching, he's great. So
that part doesn't bother me. Like if it's 2 years and whatever the number is, again, it's not my cash, but like you said, you don't want to get locked into the Hayward deal. And so I do think the free agent pitching market is supposed to be better the following year. I'm not saying the Cubs shouldn't spend. I think they spend a ton of money in the offseason, but if all your prospects coming up are mostly pitchers, you're hoping on still finding spaces for those guys to pitch so they can develop into the young, cheap, at the time, stars that you hope they can be when you go to make a real run. So you have to leave some space for those guys still to pitch. So I still like the idea of DeGrom and or Rodon or, Shohei's obviously he's the real deal if you can get him. But you just, like you said, Cody, you don't want to overspend. And more importantly, overspending in my eyes means too many years at large money. So if the deals because of the market, if the deals for DeGrom and or Rodon get too high this offseason, I wouldn't be mad at the Cubs for waiting and sticking with some of the younger guys and letting that play out a little bit, and then bringing a guy like Smyly back who gives you a little more depth, and Sampson, and then instead throwing the money at those position players that they need to get in this offseason. So it's not all going to happen in one offseason. Yeah. They're not going to spend all this money and build a World Series champion next year. If you think that's going to happen, the odds of that are just there's too much to build. And if you do try to do it in one offseason, the odds of you ending up with a Hayward-like deal that you regret greatly down the stretch are much, much better. Like if you think that's going to happen in one offseason, you're going to sign some bad guys if you try to do it too often.
Right. Well, and to go off the Hayward thing, like just because that happened, that doesn't mean that I think that we need to be extra, extra careful. Like we're the Cubs or they're the Cubs. They, like you said, it's Tom Ricketts' money.
Right.
I just think that they need to spend that money at the right time. And that goes to like what Marcus's comment here. He says, I don't think we're ready to sign anybody just yet. Let's keep developing our young pitchers. I assume he just means by pitching. I lean that they need to sign more position players than they do pitching, but if they wanted to really solidify themselves definitely as a division winner next year, I do think they need to go get themselves a starting pitcher. But I also think that if you did re-sign Drew Smyly and add in, a Sean Manaea or someone like that, and then
deals that don't handcuff you,
right? And then you bank yourself, hopefully that Kyle Hendricks comes back, and then you got year 2 of Stroman. You're hoping Justin Steele solidified himself in this rotation for sure, right? Like if you're going to hope that some of those things happen, and that's the risk if you do that. And if those things don't work out, then maybe you find yourself not in the playoff picture again next year. But if you want to solidify yourself as being a division, like in that division race and going for the division title in 2023, then yeah, they definitely need to sign a Rodon or a DeGrom or someone. Even Sean Manaea would be a nice addition. He's not a number one, but like he'd be a great depth piece. And then hopefully maybe like Wisniewski or Killian really emerge next year. Like maybe next year Wisniewski and Killian are like the Justin Steele and Keegan Thompson of this year. Like I don't know. Like that's the thing is like you don't know, and that's why it's hard to talk yourself into thinking like that they could be if you're going into the next season banking on them taking that next step. So that's kind of like that's what free agent signings are supposed to be. You sign these proven guys, one or two of them, whatever they are, and you hope that they're just an addition that helps bolster your young guys up and helps lead them to whether it's the wild card or division. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I mean, Jack says in the chat, meanwhile, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber all struggling to hit over the Mendoza line. KB's been hurt all year. Listen, we've said all along, I believe the path they took, while painful, is still the correct path. Would I like to have seen them spend even more last offseason? Yes, but moving on from the core, most of the core at least, and getting the prospects and starting over at the time was absolutely the right and only move for this organization to really make. Maybe they could have held on to one of them. If you want to pick one, we can debate that forever. I'll say Schwarber's the guy I would have hung on to because of the power and the DH coming, but like multiple core guys had to be moved this last offseason for the number one reason of they hadn't proven it, it wasn't working, and you had to start restocking the farm system.
Yeah. That's the problem with like that entire situation is like if the Cubs just would have had a better farm system, they could have moved on from some of those guys earlier and could have, kept flooding or fixing the assembly line as they call it,
Yeah,
but
right.
And he sends that because, he thinks I'm sitting here trying to kick out Kyle Hendricks, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm telling you exactly what's been going on and what's been going on.
Kyle already took the smaller deal from the Cubs,
right?
He already gave him the hometown discount. That's why he's still here.
Right, like his contract is nowhere near what Rizzo, Baez, or Brian or Schwarber's contract would have been. Like
he already gave him the deal and said he wanted to be here. He's the one guy in the whole process other than Bodie, but he's the one guy of that group that was like, yep, I'll take less in multiple years. I want to be here. So
yeah,
those other guys weren't willing to do it.
Right. And again, I think that Kyle Hendricks is going to be on this roster and he's going to be your number 5 starter next year. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because like I know the potential. But right now, like Drew Smyly's pitching like a very solid pitcher who's going to be able to go out there and give you 20 plus starts, 25 plus starts a season, and at least be a really good veteran piece. And to me, it's like at this point here on September 9th, 2022, like how can you just kind of be done with them? Like you're not going to be able to trade him. Like I feel like you got to try and run it back with him and at least have him be a depth piece who can come out of the bullpen as a long reliever and do a spot start. And, it's just, I think it's insanely hard for anyone to sit here at this point and say, I can depend on Kyle Hendricks to give me 30 starts next year.
No, you can't. Jack says that comment wasn't directed at us. He was talking to other people in the chat. Like he knows where we kind of stand on that whole thing.
Yeah,
Cody, tell me about this deal that we have going on right now with PointsBet, because we've had some great PointsBet deals throughout the entire season. This one's probably my favorite.
Absolutely. Okay, so like we got Bears 49ers on Sunday, Luke. Like we get Bears 49ers at noon, and then we can watch the Cubs and Giants later that night as
or you could watch more NFL.
Or you could watch Sunday Night Football. I think I'll be doing a little bit of both, a little 2-screen action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, if you sign up on PointsBet, guys, deposit $51, and use code CHGO when you sign up, you can get this new this Bears swag. If Joey wants to put the thing
but
up,
you got the deal is you have to use the $51 and bet pregame or during the game on that Bears-Niners game, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. You gotta, I love, and I know I've said this a lot and it hasn't worked out, but man, am I due. I love Bears +7. You can place that $51 bet on Bears +7 to cover. Just lose by a touchdown at most, and you get that's pushing. I think they lose by no more than 3 or 4 points personally. Like you can place that bet, or you can place it on David Montgomery to score a touchdown, or I don't know, Trey Lance to score 4 touchdowns if you want. There's all kinds of things that you can bet on PointsBet for this game, guys. Like all you got to do is you do that, and you get a free membership from for all the CHGO web content, allchgo.com. You can pick one of those, or is it you can pick one of those two
you
sweatshirts?
you can choose between the two sweatshirts, which you can only find in this deal. We don't even have them in the CHGO locker. So it's not like you can just go into the CHGO locker and buy them. These are exclusive to this deal. And you get the QB1 t-shirt for free as well.
Absolutely.
So like you get the t-shirt and you get one of these exclusive sweatshirts. So
yes,
man, I love it. By the way, you talked me into the Bears thing, and I don't believe in what I did on PointsBet, but I liked the money I was getting back. So I took the Bears outright to win the game.
Luke's going down.
I took the over on the 5.5 wins for the season because when it was at 6.5, I said something like, well, I mean, if it was more like 5.5, I might do it. Yeah. In reality, in my mind, if it was 4, I should have done it. But I went and did it anyways because I'm I'm the idiot that gets sucked in right before the season.
Absolutely.
Which is what they want.
Anyway, all you gotta do is make that bet. And you could potentially win money. You can win your money back. If you win your bet, you'll get your money back plus more money if you win your bet, and you'll get all this stuff. Like it's an insane deal, Luke. It's an insane deal. I'm having my girlfriend sign up, and we're gonna have 2 CHGO memberships here in this household.
But if she does it now, you could get you're getting the hoodie, or she's getting the hoodie.
Oh, I'm definitely getting the hoodie. We're going to use my money to sign to bet on, but I'm going to make her sign up so I can get the swag, man. Yeah. Gotta get the swag.
Well, you could always sign up another account that says Cody Delmonico, and you could have 2 hoodies there. It's not that second one's not a hoodie; it's the crew. But I like the crew too.
Yeah. So, and I think the more underrated thing about it is you do that, you also still just get that free membership for a full year to allchgo.com. And, we got Ryan writing stuff about the Cubs. I know he wrote about, the 40-man roster today and like the mess that is. And, we got all the Bears content too. If you're all here watching the Bears show, and we got added new people and all this stuff. So,
somebody says I get the crew neck. I don't know what's going on over at your house, but it seems slightly debatable at the moment.
Yeah, again, my girlfriend's in the chat.
If you're listening and you see a Cody Delmetrics sign up, don't be surprised if he's asking for a hoodie in Cody's size.
Oh my god! Yeah.
By the way, Game Time, the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports and concerts and shows. So, I think that the season opener is a golden opportunity to try out this new app. Now, if you've ever dreamed of sitting places you never thought you could sit because they were too expensive, 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, floor seats to a concert, get this Game Time app right now. The best and biggest last-minute price drops that can be found on seats you never thought you could ever buy. So you're not going to find a better deal this season on Cubs and Bears tickets created by fans for fans. They have a guaranteed lowest price on that ticket. And if you love CHGO, you got to remember that you're going to love Game Time. It's the best way to support us. The best way to do that is to buy your tickets this season through the link in this podcast description. Join over 15 million people who already have this app and are downloading it and scoring big deals on seats that you never thought you could get. Up to 60% off some people are getting because they're going last minute. They're using Game Time. They're getting the guaranteed lowest deal. And I'm thinking with the rain in the season opener, there's going to be tickets just kind of hanging out there where people are thinking about it. And sure enough, this might be your chance to be at the home opener when the Bears win and I win big on PointsBet.
Ooh.
You could be there in person, 50-yard line, front row. Bear man will be sitting right next to you maybe. It's an opportunity. It's what this is.
I like the idea. I like the idea of just waiting until an hour or a half hour before game time and just seeing what the price is at. Just head down, Lakeshore Drive. And I know it's a pain in the ass to get to Soldier Field. The Bears guys been talking about that a lot lately with the whole move to Arlington Heights. But just head down to the neighborhood that it's at, and maybe go to your favorite bar around the area, and then just keep refreshing the Game Time app and see if those prices drop. And if you find a price that you like, just go ahead and get it and then just walk over. It's honestly, it's one of the beauties if you live in this wonderful city. So
right.
Like I could do that for Cubs next year when they're good and the tickets are like expensive again. Like I can go to the Cubs game tomorrow for like $10, I'm pretty sure. But like if they're good again next year,
but can you sit first row right behind home plate for that? No, but that seat might be available if you wait to the last minute. It's going to be beautiful. You go hang out, have a couple drinks in Wrigleyville, and then you hit that Game Time app like 15 minutes before the game and you see what's available. Like for the Bears thing, we're going to start, CHGO is going to start having some tailgate parties. You can come to our tailgate party, hang out, not have a ticket to the game, but then all of a sudden, boom, you pull the trigger and you get like one of the best seats and the best deals, one of these amazing deals on tickets to a Bears game. It's something to think about as the season progresses and, of course, into next year and Bulls tickets and Blackhawks tickets. Cody, let's talk about the new rules that were approved today.
Woo!
All in. I'm all in on all of them. I will say right out of the gate that the only one I question is still why are they changing the size of the bases? Nobody can explain that to me. I have no idea why they're going to have these giant inflatable bouncy rooms sitting out on each base. Like second base is going to be an inflatable dragon you have to touch, and third, like I know they're going from like 15 inches to 18 inches, but like what for?
Maybe it's for like injury purposes. Like
that's what they're saying, but like how does a base being bigger? Maybe the second baseman can like get out of the
maybe you won't jam your finger as easily. I don't freaking know.
I don't know. I guess a slightly bigger base lets the base runner have a little more space to go into than maybe the infielder wouldn't be at. It seems like a stretch. I also think you're going to, it's only 3 inches, but you're going to have the baseballs hitting the bags more often, which is kind of weird. Usually you might have infielders trying to figure out how to dive without landing on the bag, which is another thing. But the ones that I like, the pitch clock is gold.
Yes.
And the one the players reps voted no, it was not unanimous, but it passed. The players didn't like the pitch clock and they didn't like the no shift. I have no idea. Like,
are they all pitchers?
Just because they're going to have to adjust, like they don't like to adjust to anything. But now here's the deal with the pitch clock: 15 seconds when nobody is on base for the pitcher to throw the ball, 20 seconds when runners are on base. If it expires and the pitch hasn't been thrown, it's an automatic ball. Or if the flip side of it is the batter's not ready, it's an automatic strike. So the batter has to be in there, I believe, at 8 or 9 seconds. The catcher has to be ready 8 or 9 seconds. And those also trigger an automatic ball or an automatic strike if they're not in the box ready to go. So I love all those. Minor league baseball is like 2 hours and 30 minutes for almost every game.
It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a thing in spring training, and it's going to be so fun to watch these players just like really suck at this at the start.
Absolutely, they are the guys that do
it's going to be so funny, in my opinion.
Like shaking off 1,000 times and stepping off the rubber. Here's what I really think, and the other one to talk about really is I think the pickoff moves, right? And we'll talk about the shift too. But like, I really think there's not the rest of the season is about exploring, Cody.
Right.
As of tomorrow, the Cubs should start pretending that these rules are active.
I'm
Cubs pitchers.
Stop shifting. Yeah.
No, I don't care. Like the shifting thing, that's easily to go back to the other way. But like the timing of throwing the pitch and being on the mound and being ready to go for the catcher, the pitcher, and the batter, all three should be mentally going for the Cubs right now. Spring trainings might be too fast for these guys to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, you got to believe that the pitchers are going to be practicing this in the offseason.
I know, but this is live game action.
That's true. I agree. I'm just saying, like, any pitcher that comes into spring training and hasn't at least like tried to get adjusted to it yet, that like anything bad that happens to them as far as like their stats and stuff, that's on them. Like I
agree.
The game has brought in new rules and taken rules away for years and years and years. Like if you can't adjust to this, especially if minor leaguers are able to do this, I mean,
I agree. I just think it wouldn't hurt to tell guys, at least after the game, hey, Drew Smyly, 10 times in this game, you would have been tagged for an extra ball because you didn't throw it fast enough.
Yeah.
So the next time out, you might as well start thinking about it. Like,
right.
Maybe not him, maybe the younger guys. I don't know.
Right. I get the players. Like, baseball's so routine, right? Like, you don't want change. I get it from a player's perspective. I totally get it. But if they want to, if MLB wants to grow the game, if they want to bring in new fans, you want to make it more entertaining. If you want to make it to where guys like Luke Stuckmeyer aren't freaking about to fall asleep in the 6th inning of a game that the Cubs are playing in Los Angeles on a random Wednesday night,
then
the
Cubs could have gone to 15-10, Cody.
Yeah. Like, and you don't, it's a Wednesday night and the Cubs are getting creamed by the Dodgers 5-0.
Yes.
And the game ends up going like 3.5 hours because there's no pitch clock. Like, if you don't want to lose those fans, then you need the pitch clock. Like, I think the pitch clock is, the best thing that they're bringing in. I'm very happy about the shift being gone too, but like the pitch clock just to make these games go faster. I mean, you watch the NFL, you watch the NBA, the NBA is a great example. It's just it's a fast moving sport, up and down, stuff like that. So it's understandable why those games are always, around 2 hours. NFL, it's like, it can be so, it can be so different, but the thing is football is the number one sport in America, or even not the world because of soccer, but like people are okay with the fact that they're sitting on their couch watching 3 hours of football or whatever every day. You know what I mean? Because for some reason, people just love it. Yeah. And like MLB could get away with this type of thing if they were the most popular sport in the world. Get away with like how long these games are, but they're not. They're not even the most popular sport in our country. We call this America's pastime. Like it just is what it is. It's a slow sport, and I like it the way it is. Like if it's up to me, we it's just as a pure baseball fan, I'm not exactly like fond of the pitch clock in terms of that perspective. But if you want to talk about like just being able to get through a game faster, then yeah, I'm all aboard it. You know what I mean? So I get it from a perspective of just being a pure baseball fan. Like, why do this to like speed up a game? But like if you're talking from a league perspective, trying to get younger fans, and you're trying to grow the game in a way and get more people like into it, that way they don't have to sit there and watch it for 3.5, 4 hours, then yeah, it was the right move, man. Shit.
The pitch clock should have come about 10 years ago. The shift thing wasn't necessary because teams weren't going crazy with the analytics and doing it. So the shift deal is 2 infielders now have to be every pitch on the left side of second base with their feet on the dirt. Okay. So that really sort of eliminates the shift, the extreme shift that we've seen in baseball, which I think is a good thing because it was just, it muddied the game. It's just been ugly.
The amount of times, Luke, that Kyle Schwarber or Anthony Rizzo hit bullets between first and second base, and it's right into the shift. Jack R says something about how they barely are hitting above the Mendoza line. I guarantee you. And if I'm wrong about this, I will apologize to you personally on this podcast, Jack. If their batting averages don't significantly rise next year, then they just either have really fallen off or something. Because
agreed.
Like the amount of base hits taken away from players around the league because of the shift, like that's kind of the point. Like the point of removing the shift is like they want more offense. And you know what?
Right.
They're not even defense, but just pitching has really dominated the game. And that's great. If you like pitching, great. I like pitching. I like watching 1-0 games. Well, we got 1-0 games when the shift wasn't a thing too. It's all about just being good at your craft. Like now, there's so many pitchers that have gotten no hitters in the last 10 years. And you're like, how did that guy get a no hitter? How did Wade Miley throw a no hitter? Oh yeah. The shift exists. Alec Mills. Yes. Like nothing against Alec Mills, man. But like,
thanks.
Come on, man. Like that guy shouldn't be throwing a freaking no hitter, but the shift helped him. You give him credit. He did what he did, but definitely if you go back and look at some of the ground balls that he was able to get, I'm sure the shift was a major factor in him getting a no-hitter that day in Milwaukee. Like there's no way.
I don't believe, and I could be wrong now, I don't believe it totally eliminates teams trying to do something crazy because I don't believe it limits the outfielders from coming in and playing on the edge of the grass. So like you could have maybe I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think you could have your left fielder come in and kind of play deep third base or short center, and so you could still try and.
Could you just bring one in to like play like?
I think you could.
Right up the middle.
I haven't seen anything that says they can't do that because teams like to do that at the end of a game anyways when it doesn't matter. They'll go with 2 outfielders or, move everybody in. They didn't want to eliminate that. But, there's way more risk for a defensive team to do that than it is for moving the infielders around. So pickoff is the one that's.
Hey, Stuckey.
Yeah.
While we're talking about this, our friend Ryan Herrera has arrived.
Oh, good. Oh, Mr. Herrera's here.
So we can talk to him about the rule changes, I guess.
Yeah, Ryan, what do you here's the last one we were talking about. Like, and I'm curious if the players had anything to say about it after the game or before the game or David Ross. But like the pickoff one is interesting because they're going to limit 2 pickoff moves per plate appearance. A third one is allowed. The difference is if a guy throws over to first base the third time, if he doesn't successfully if he picks the guy off, he's out. But if he doesn't pick him off, he goes right to second base, it's a balk. Or he goes from second to third, it's a balk. So when I first saw the rule, I thought, well, wait a minute. Like, they're just going to be stealing bases all day. This isn't going to help us with anything. Like, if you use it twice, what's going to stop the guy from just rolling over to second base? But that's the deal is he can't go too far because if he does, he can still get picked off.
But
I like that rule. I think that was smart.
Yeah, I did too. He has to get thrown out, otherwise he gets second base for free.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. If he doesn't get thrown out, he gets the base. If he does get thrown out, he's out.
Yeah, I like that. I do think that's a good way to like. You get the 2 pickoffs, you get a chance for a third or a fourth or a fifth, but like you got to make sure you're throwing these guys out. Otherwise, like, I think that's a cool way to like make sure like limit the pickoffs, but also like make sure that the guys aren't just running around and around the bags after you try to pick off twice. I think that's a good move. Yeah. They didn't address that part of the rule specifically. I know we talked to like Ian Happ for a while pregame. Ross talked about it for a while. I talked to Nick Madrigal a little bit. We talked to Nico after the game. Like guys have, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of pushback on the new rules. And like me personally, I have no issue with any of the rules. I need to take a little closer look at exactly what is going on. Like I know Ian mentioned like the one timeout for a batter per plate appearance. And so he mentioned like playing baseball in April at Wrigley Field when the wind is blowing 20 miles an hour at your face and you can't see. You take one timeout because you can't see. Later in that at bat, and then the wind picks up again and you can't see again. Are you not able to take another timeout? Like, will the umpire grant you a timeout because you literally like the wind is blowing in your face, that kind of stuff. So they're definitely, I mean, it's not like, I feel like not everything's perfect solutions. Like nothing's ever going to be perfect and not everyone's always going to agree on everything. Personally, from what I've read and seen in the rule changes, I think I have no issue with pretty much any of it. I mean, the bigger bags, I thought we talked about it like months ago and we thought it was weird, but
it is,
if it's for safety, but also like, if it's safety, okay. If it's like, stealing bases is kind of one of the most electric parts about baseball. So if it encourages more of that, okay, cool. I guess I don't see like a negative in it. Maybe it just makes baseball. I mean, I don't even think it makes it seem like less of the game that we grew up watching, like I don't, maybe I'm not like so overly positive about the bigger bases, but I don't find any negatives in it. Like I'm really indifferent on that either which way. The pitch clock, I know Luke, I know you're going to love that one. I'm going to love it too.
Start it now.
Yeah. And like everyone, like
start it now.
Yeah, I talked to Nick Madrigal pregame, and he mentioned how on rehab assignments, so pitchers on rehab assignments, major league pitchers on rehab assignments aren't subject to the pitch clock, but like hitters are. So like when Nick Madrigal was down in AAA, pitchers obviously like he's facing AAA pitching. They have to abide by the pitch clock. So he's in turn at kind of the mercy of the pitch clock and what that entails. So he kind of said like that's beneficial for guys who have gone down to AAA or the minors because of a rehab assignment or an option, whatever it is. That's kind of seeing how it works at that level. Because obviously a little bit of a head start because you understand really the timing mechanism of that. But also it's just like you kind of see that it's really not that big a deal. And after maybe a few times, like it's like you start to get used to the changes. And I think, Ross has mentioned this before. And he talked about it today. It's like, every rule change is weird. He came up when you were still allowed to truck catchers at the plate. Like you could still just bowl over catchers at the plate. Like that's when he started catching. So even then he's like, when that became a rule change, like we thought it was weird. And he just had to get used to it. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like these rules I don't think are going to fundamentally change baseball, and everyone that thinks that they are is like, no, because the shift, like in the history of baseball, great players, but players that maybe pull the ball, whatever, there have been shifts, but it has never been as ingrained. The shift has never been as ingrained in the game of baseball as it is today. So you're just, if you do have ways to restrict it, like it's kind of bringing it back to the old games. Same thing with the pitch clock. It's like, when in baseball history did you have guys taking 45 seconds to a minute to throw a pitch? Like it's so much. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't think these change the game of baseball in any negative way. I like them.
Ravi in the chat is saying he's a purist. He hates it all. And I'm going to say, Ravi, we have never thought of you as a purist.
Well, he also points out the worst one is the man on second in extra innings rule. I've been very confused about this rule, and I don't know if that was addressed today, but is it just till the end of this year? Because I thought they originally said it was coming back for this year, and then it was done.
I didn't see that.
Like and that's why I'm like confused about it. Like, is there anything about that? Like, is it done? Like, if you're getting a pitch clock and you're able to move games back or move games up quicker, then like I'm okay if it goes to extras and we got to freaking go through a couple more innings, whatever. Especially if the game's going by faster. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I don't want to do it every single day, but like you know where I'm getting at.
Right. Yeah. I didn't see anything about that one today. Real quick, we'll go back to this in a second, and we'll get to who you got and all that stuff. I do want to throw out that deal again that we've got going on PointsBet, Cody, because this is it. This is our last chance to tell Cubs fans about it going into the Bears-Niners game, how they can get the sick merch that we are giving away that you can only find in this deal. You can't get it at the CHGO locker. You have to take advantage of this deal. It's such a good deal. Cody's making up names and starting new PointsBet accounts.
Yeah, I'm going to make like 5 of them because my girlfriend's already entered the chat and told me that she's taking the crew next. So I gotta create a new one and that way I can get the varsity jacket because that's what I want. And then we'll have 3 free CHGO memberships for a full year. I mean, all I got to do is just deposit $51 into a new PointsBet account, place a bet on Bears +7, win money while also get all this free stuff because the Bears are going to cover on Sunday. It's a beautiful thing, guys. Like I don't know how else to really say it. This is the best deal in CHGO sports history until we do a Cubs one next year.
Yeah, you get Ryan's content, you get all the writers' content for free because you get a year-long membership. You get the QB1 T-shirt for free. Again, you got to use the CHGO code when you do it, and you have to make a new account, be a new user, and do a $51 bet during the game or before the game on the Bears-Niners. That's the deal. And then you get your choice of those 2 sweatshirts. I like the hoodie. Your girlfriend likes the crew. For you guys, that means you're going to have to get 2, right? He's going to get an account, and Cody Delmetrics is going to show up on their system.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So no, it's a great deal, all in all. I can't wait till I assume we'll do something Cubs related next year going to spring training. I can't wait for one of those types of promos for the Cubs. But Bears season is upon us, and if you've had a lot of pain from the Chicago Cubs this year, well, the Chicago Bears have been giving us pain for a long time, guys. And you know what? We're all still Bears fans. We still care, and we still going to watch. But at least if you want to sit and watch the Bears, at least look good while you're watching the Bears piss you off. And like that's the way I look at it. It's like I'd love to just look really good while I watch the Bears make my Sunday awful. So
it's an opportunity.
That's what we talked about, Ryan. You have it for in a few months from now when Aaron Rodgers inevitably loses in the playoffs again. Like you'll have your QB1 shirt or your hoodie.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna happen, and you want to be decked out.
It's the best day in Bears fandom when Aaron Rodgers loses in the playoffs. Like you have to have your CHGO Bears swag when Aaron Rodgers loses in the playoffs. So like, I mean, I've given you at least 10 good reasons to sign up for PointsBet.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And the other one is the Game Time app. You know, if you're looking to get tickets and you're trying to go to a Bears game or a Cubs game here at the end of the season and you want the seats behind home plate, 50-yard line, or, you know, you're trying to get to the season opener and you're thinking, how am I going to do it? You get this app, Game Time app, last minute deals. It's what it's all about. Guaranteed prices. It's made by fans for fans. This is where you get your deals. You know, you might hang around there an hour before the game on Sunday. It's raining, and you're thinking, how am I going to get the ticket? Boom, you jump in and you get a 50% off ticket. It's gold. Like gold. What do they have? 15 million people have already downloaded the app. I know Herb Lawrence is one that's used it. He just used it in Atlanta, and he was like, I actually found a ticket that was cheaper and they matched it right away. Yeah. And boom, he got his huge discount and he was moving on. And it was like super easy. It was like everybody I know that's used this already says it's a game changer. Game Time is a game changer for buying tickets to games or concerts or whatever you're trying to buy tickets for.
I got to show you guys how easy this is. It's like incredibly easy. Literally game time tickets right here. Pull it up. Sports. Like, for example, events near me, Alabama at Texas football, $143. I paid $350 for my tickets. They're way worse than these. Like, you know, these are. Oh, man. I'm actually really upset right now looking at these ticket prices. I'm going to go talk to my friends and tell them how badly we messed it up. I can't believe this. But it is a great testament to how awesome Game Time is. And it's super easy. Literally right here. Sports, MLB, Chicago Cubs. $3. I mean, that's not great. I mean, it's great.
It's not great
the way
for them.
To do it, Joey, the way you have to do it, the best way to support us and Game Time is
got to use that code in that description.
Go to the link, the description right here in our podcast, YouTube podcast. Go in that description. Use that link there to get your tickets to whatever you're going to see this weekend. It helps us. It helps Game Time, and more importantly, it helps you because you're going to get, instead of being Joey regretful of getting these tickets to the Texas-Alabama game, you're going to get discounted deals and sit in places you never thought you could sit.
I want. Well, one, I haven't had the opportunity to use Game Time, but I hear great things about it. Everyone I've talked to, like you mentioned, Herb Lawrence, say great things about it. So I'm excited to finally get a chance to use it. And two, I mean, look at Joey, how regretful he is. He could have paid less money to go watch Texas get stomped by Alabama this weekend. Could have paid less money, and instead it's
could have paid less money to go see them lose by 21 points or more. Exactly. I mean, man.
Exactly. By the way, should we take a moment of silence, not only for the Queen, but also for Albert Almora, DFA'd as the Reds picked up Luke Farrell and DFA'd Albert Almora.
Never forget when he went on the radio and said that his career was turned around, or no, not what was it? Who was the guy
he blamed?
Someone wrote an article.
Not enough opportunities, and he was fixed by the Reds.
Didn't he basically say like he wasn't able to develop as a hitter in Chicago?
And now DFA'd by the Reds. When you get DFA'd by the Reds, that's saying something, man.
Nicholas Padilla also picked up. He was DFA'd the other day, claimed off waivers by the White Sox.
He was.
So it's I understand the Sox picking him up. I think he's a guy that maybe shows them something. But
I didn't have a lot of faith in him getting back to the Cubs. Honestly, it's not like he pitched well in AAA or wherever this year, right? And just whatever.
It was one of those where you were surprised when he got DFA'd, and then you were like, well, I won't be surprised if someone else claims him.
Yeah. Ryan, I buried the lead. What's going on with Nick Madrigal? So before it was the left side of his groin, right? When he had like 2 months on the injured list, it was his left groin. The injury in this, I believe I read, is the right groin, correct?
Yeah, so it's like right groin tightness, I believe was the term. David Ross, he talked about it a little bit after the game, doesn't know exactly when it happened, like when he felt it. It might have been on that ground ball in the bottom of the third. It was a ground ball to third base. He said it's just some tightness. They're going to get some imaging tomorrow, rule anything out. They don't really know much more than again, it's groin tightness. So hopefully get more clarity on that tomorrow. It stinks, man. Like, cause he was this last month or so since he came back. Like he was looking fine, and he wasn't lighting the world on fire, but he looked a lot more like the kind of guy that the Cubs were hoping to get when they, traded Craig Kimbrell for him. He was having a good month. And so to see him go down, you hope, obviously it's nothing like what happened in New York that kept him out for almost 2 months. Like, you hope it's something maybe more of a precaution, like he felt it. Cause I remember there was during his rehab assignment, he kind of had a little bit of a setback, but it was something that he caught when he was rehabbing from the left groin strain or whatever it was called. He had a setback in his rehab during a game, but it ended up turning out that it was like him, like kind of feeling something and just being really cautious with it himself. So maybe it's a similar situation. But again, we'll have more clarity on just what exactly happened and when it happened tomorrow. Just hope that it's nothing too serious and he can finish out the rest of these 4 weeks or so healthy and get to the off season.
Most importantly, it ruined my chances of winning Who You Got.
Sure.
I mean, to be selfish about it, it ruined my chances of winning Who You Got. And we have a showdown in this one, really, because this is super close. And it comes down to, in my eyes, Ryan and Joey out of nowhere. Joey picked Yan Gomes going into this game. And we're like, we're like,
up today only.
I thought he was
Joey's
joking.
been waiting for this moment all night.
We're like,
Higgins. Been waiting for this moment all season.
And he calls Yan Gomes. He hits the home run, and I'm thinking, it's over. Joey has won this. Then Ryan's guy hit a home run. So both guys, Nico and Gomes, both 2 RBI, right? Nico with his 9th homer. He also had his 18th stolen base. Now, a negative for Nico, I believe he had an error in this game well, right?
He did have an error.
He had an error.
He did have an error, but Yan Gomes had a pass ball.
1 for 2 with a walk.
Yan Gomes had a pass ball.
Yan Gomes is playing the hardest position on the diamond.
Well, I was going to say, he's got to get. Yan Gomes does get credit for that is a risk taker pick. Like, there's no question there has to be a little extra juice to like
strategy
who's
was
picking Yan Gomes.
No, you can't say it's a risk. You can't say it's risk taker because Luke, he picks Jason Hayward and PJ Higgins every game. One of these times, even a broken clock is right.
Called a great game for Smyly. Did call a great game for Smyly. 1 hit.
Not this time, Ryan. I picked Yan fair and square. And the commissioner has ruled that I win.
He's not a commissioner yet. He's a Who You Got player.
Not yet. I'm not the commissioner yet. I do have a direct line to the soon-to-be former commissioner and replaced commissioner.
At the worst, it's a tie.
But Cody, what do you think? What do you think? And I think it's real close. I tend to lean towards. I would say it was almost dead even. The stolen,
give it to Joey.
The late air definitely hurt Ryan's chances because at that point I thought it was a little bit closer. I just think picking Nico is easy, and they had similar games. And picking Yan Gomes
had the pass ball.
You might as well pick, Tony Campana for the game.
No, Yan Gomes had the pass ball. Nico was 2 for 3 with a stolen base.
Versus 1 for 2.
With a home run.
With a walk. And they both had 2 RBI, and they both had the home run, and one guy caught a 1-hitter.
And you're all once again asking me to make the decision, even though
Luke is scared because I'm like
right now,
1
I would
point
say
behind him.
Right now, I would say it's probably 2-1. Maybe I'm 1.5 to 1. But like, if you could convince me it's 100% Ryan, maybe I'll listen to the reason why.
Are you kidding me? There shouldn't be any convincing.
You're acting like it's obvious.
No,
it is.
It's not.
How many
obvious.
hits? How many hits did Yan Gomes have today? Did he just have the one hit?
Yeah,
one hit, but he also had a walk. So bases wise,
okay. So they both got on base twice.
Actually,
they were both on base twice.
But walks don't count towards total bases.
Well, he was on base twice.
He still got on base. I think that it should be counting towards total bases, so I can win more bets on points bet. I'll tell you that much.
I win the point.
I disagree.
Well,
Luke is doing this because he knows I'm right on his tail and he's trying to stop me from getting a point.
I'm letting Cody have a say in this. Like I'm not saying it like.
But there's a reason you're pushing for Joey so much.
I'm not. I'm saying it's real close. But like you can't deny that picking Yan Gomes is more difficult than picking Nico Horner.
He always picks he picks
Cody.
Higgins and Hayward.
I would like to give a point to both, but I've been told that we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So because of that, I do think the fact that Joey did pick Yan Gomes instead of PJ Higgins today says something. It does say something.
I'm leaving the studio.
Point, Joey.
You guys are unbelievable.
Ryan,
you know I'm right on your tail.
The decision has been made, but Ryan, your argument should have been that gambling from another state is not legal on who you got. That's where you missed out on your argument. As a prosecutor, that's where you missed out. You should have said, this is a moot point. Joey can't place the bet from Texas.
I also think because he is not one of the three of us, that we could both get a point.
No, I think you made
Ryan, I'm not allowed to pick two anymore.
Have some respect for the behind the scenes folk.
That's what I'm saying. We could both get a point. It's like us three were like
as long as I outlawed that.
I outlawed it between the three of us. I outlawed it between the three of us splitting points because we do it so much.
Point Joey. It's the only win he's going to have this weekend.
If we would have kept the rule that we can give points to multiple people, I would have given you a point.
I don't know how you say Yan Gomes had a better game than Nico. That's what it is.
I don't. I say they had most likely equal games.
I think,
but one was a tougher pick than the other.
But that's not the rule of the game. The rule of the game is who is going to have the better game. That's who's going to have the better game.
Tiebreaker. You both
actually,
do
I
rock,
think
paper,
Gomes
scissors.
did have. Gomes had a better game. He was called a one hitter.
He also had a passed ball in a game
a passed ball is way more likely to happen to a catcher than a Gold Glove shortstop. You know what I mean? Like every pitch you get past the catcher. Every pitch can't get past the shortstop.
Did you see the pass ball?
Yeah,
it was a pretty bad pass ball.
Yeah, but
you should get Yan on the podcast and ask him.
100% should have caught that. And Nico just had one. It was a throwing error because he was deep in the hole trying to make a play. You're gonna fault him for that?
All right, point. Joey
was named an error, so he should be able to make.
This is unbelievable, man.
We're at 1 minute and 8 seconds as we head into the holiday weekend. It looks like it's getting dark out at my house.
This is insane. I can't believe this.
I'll wish Joey's Longhorns good luck. Hook them. I prefer they beat
Alabama. I hope they lose by 21 points or more tomorrow.
And all I can say is
no more, no less.
Right. It's all hope the Bears win outright.
Bears money line, Bears +7. Let's ride. Woo.
I'm being silenced by the dictatorship of Stucky Nation. Sounds like Cody and him have formed an alliance against me.
Everyone was saying that we formed an alliance like 2 days ago.
You were outvoted 3-1. This time you were outvoted 3-1.
Yes, because there's an alliance against me right now. I'm high on your tail. I'm what?
There's nobody in the chat. There is not one person in the chat saying Ryan has to win. It is over. 4-2, the Cubs. It was a nice game. 4-2. They win it. Started against the Giants. You get Stroman coming up on Saturday. You get Smyly on Sunday. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs Postgame Show podcast. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up for 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000 or become a new subscriber. Get the new account, put $51 in, bet on the Bears-Niners game, $51, and you get the free content. you get the free QB1 shirt and your choice of the sweatshirts. I'll leave you with that. Have a great weekend. Joey, congratulations and fly the W.